Welcome back to Games Now. I'm Anna-Kaisa Kultima and I'm here with my lovely co-host Soli Park. And we are at the Aalto University's Otaniemi campus streaming to you live our almost last lecture of this year. And the topic is wonderful.
Yes.
It's really hard, but it's very important and it's very timely, I would say.
And unique.
And unique
well,
in
very
itself.
importantly unique.
Yeah, we're gonna again have some live drawings from Solip, and if you have any questions, you can post them in our chat, and we will address them to our speaker. Make sure that you follow all of our channels because it's not over yet, and there's gonna be another year coming up as well, so that you would always get the notification of the new content. And we're planning a lot of new stuff happening in the next year as well.
Yes, including the lecture coming up next month. And as well, we are going to come back in the next academic year as well with new lectures list announced. But then stay tuned for that. And if you want to stay tuned, obviously you have to follow our social media channels.
Indeed. And I think that maybe the graphics is... Oh, it's that way. Yeah. Check the channels there. Everything is there. Nevertheless, today's topic is absolutely wonderful. We're going to talk about indigenous game development and indie development. It's like a combo that maybe it's a natural combo, maybe it's like difficult combo. We're going to see how it works out. We have Marjaana Auranen from Red Stage Entertainment today talking about the game that is completely fresh out of the oven. So it's been out for 3 days. Let's bring Marjaana to the stage.
Hello.
Hey, Marjaana.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
Panic, relieved, all over the place.
You still feel panic from the last weeks of deadline?
Yeah. It was so stressful and so overwhelming because we did the game 5 years.
Yeah.
So now it's out in the open and I don't see how our baby is gonna make it.
Yeah. It's scary times.
Yeah.
It's really.
So the game is called Skábma Snowfall. And you really have been working on it for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, from the first idea to this day when it's actually going to places. I don't know where, but places.
To different places.
Yeah.
We're so proud of you, so happy for you that the game is out. And we're so excited to hear what you have as a reflection. It's very short time to reflect anything though.
I know.
So
I try to like squeeze all my traumas and ethno-stress in this little ball and try to feed you. But let's see.
Let's see. And we're going to ask questions if anything comes to our mind during the lecture and then also pick the questions from the chat. And we'll see. We're going to learn a lot of things today, I hope.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So we're going to give the stage to Marjaana just to start the presentation so that we don't lose any time for the valuable spot here. Do we actually start with the trailer? Do you
Let's see the trailer first, so people will see a little glimpse of the future, past, present, something.
By the way, congratulations! Yay!
Lehkoko assikit jäivän taan suutohkaa kuoktaansa. Kaskeja, iäjät oarrin saji kuoran. Nyaakame lakapui.
Farmashimaiton parkketaan Koutachiin. Tjähpi, tuolla ei.
Polttamaiti. Olta aikola.
Tietonleht. Ähtylä hirma pohtsan.
Ostajasta näivereen halas. Tarppasihtin kalke ähki taalle.
Tahtee aina vahki.
Hanin hallita vattasmahti taas.
Hieman mielu seppo oiviko chorto.
Mutta jos piutu koosnuu lihkostuva, maailmi jäppä.
Mana!
Ei mun teetä muuta manna.
Sättää somaa, täivari tuu sieluin.
All right, that was it then.
That's beautiful. Lovely.
It's that was our baby game, trailer of our baby game. Why we are super proud of her, him, whatever they want to call themselves. So Indian Indigenous case Skábma is the title of this lecture, and I'm Marjaana Auranen, also known as Eira Teresa Joret Marjaana, and that is my Sámi name. It comes from my grandmother's side, so Eira Teresa is my grandmother and Joret is my father, so now you know my family also. So Indigenous in this case, what does it mean? We are talking about Indigenous Sámi, and for those who don't know anything about Indigenous Sámi, it's the only recognized indigenous people living inside European Union, and there's roughly around 100,000 of us living inside 4 countries. So it's Norway, Sweden, Finland and Russia. And there are 9 different languages, for example, and they are all endangered. And if I take one of my family side, Sámi, there is only 400 speakers, so extremely endangered languages. And mostly we are known from the reindeer herding culture that we have. It's something that reindeer is very important to us, even though not every Sámi is a reindeer herder. So now you know everything about Sámi. Check! And this is our baby game. Skábma Snowfall just came out from the oven, and we started making this game 2017, and I think it was then, it's so overwhelming to think it was just an idea in mothers and fathers' heads at that time to actually make a Sámi game. And the reason for wanting to make a Sámi game was that my father was Sámi, I'm Sámi, and I've always wanted to create something from my culture that would show the history and the lores that we have. And luckily, my co-owner, partner, Sahin Sengits agreed and was excited about the topic also and wanted to make this game with me.
How long have you had the Red Stage Entertainment?
It was established 2017.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah. But this was this your first project, or did you have something already before you started this?
We actually, me and Sahin, we met when we were at school, and we had this augmented reality experimental game thing. It's hard to describe, called Lintukoto, and I needed help for that project, and Sahin came, this rescuing angel from the ceiling. I don't know where he came, but landed there, and ever since we have been working together or wanting to work together.
Yeah.
So this kind of, when the school ended and all these school projects that we were doing together, we kind of wanted to continue on that, to create our own project with our own terms,
right?
That no one is telling us what to do and how to do it. So, and that kind of was the opportunity to make a Sámi game, because it's not something that maybe employees are like super excited to make, because they don't know anything about Sámi culture.
So unless they are like you. Yeah.
So we decided to hop on board with the Sámi culture and the Sámi themed game, and yeah, that is how Skábma Snowfall, the idea, came. And the story of Skábma is very this day, if we think about it. We didn't create the pandemic. I want to say that at first. We had this story already before pandemic, and it was weird that actually COVID happened after this. But there is this.
There's actually a question about this from the audience that did the kind of a COVID happen, or how did you come up with an idea of the diseases? Yeah.
No, it didn't inspire. It wasn't inspired by COVID.
It was before.
It was before, and because of there is this one deity or one god in Sámi lores that inspired this. So I'm not going to spoil anything
Too
more.
much,
Too
okay.
much, but it was coming from there. And the idea is that we are living in this imaginary Sámiland. This is a fantasy Sámiland where all the stories can be true at the same time. This young reindeer herder Áilu finds this old Noaidi drum, and Noaidis, they were the healers and seers of Sámi villagers, also known as shamans, although we don't like to use that word. So this Áilu finds this old drum that has amazing powers, and at the same time in the region there starts to spread this odd disease, and Áilu has to kind of harness the powers of the drum and starts defending their village. That was the basic story. Nothing new or unique in that, I think, but it works because we put a lot of cultural knowledge there that otherwise would been like people wouldn't have heard about those. And our main character Áilu is, like I said, an orphan reindeer herder who gets to live in their uncle's village, and basically this daydreamer who doesn't want to be in the conflict but kind of is drawn to conflict.
Mhm.
It I don't know, it reminds me of me maybe in a way that I like to daydream a lot, and I hate to be in a conflict, but when the battle calls or I have to rise to a occasion, I will do that. So
you've drawn from your personal experience in there. Yep.
a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I probably forgot to say that I'm also the script writer of this game. So I wrote the game. And the main tool of our mechanics is Quaftis, the Noaidi drum. So it was the most powerful tool in Sámi villages. Like, the outsiders were so afraid of them that they wanted to destroy all the drums. At some point, I think it's 16th or 17th century. And with this drum, Noaidis, they used to be able to travel between spirit realms and communicate with different spirits and find sick people's spirits from the underworld and bring them back, and also find lost objects. So that was kind of our main inspiration of the game mechanics, was the real history of what Noaidis were and what how they use the drum. And in our game we have 4 familiar spirits that will help Áilu on their journey. So we have Squalfy, which is the snowy owl, and of course birds, they control air. And then we have Kuavtsa, the bear, and earth, and Samcha, and etc. etc. These are pretty basic things.
And these come from the Sámi stories already.
Yeah,
Do they?
familiar
Yeah.
spirits were these animal form familiar spirits, and also human form familiar spirits were those spirits that guided Noaidis and helped them to find their powers and in their journey. So it all goes to the mythology. So we didn't want to tamper that or change too much about it. So Chamcha, water, and Rieban is fire. So this basically, you have 2 forms of using these powers. One form is that you can attune these infected objects in the environment. You can change them to different form, like Squalfy can change this bleeder into a vortex of air, or Kuavtsa can change it to a platform, like stony platform, and so forward. And you also have, you are given to these powers of movement. So when you have the Squalfy power, then you can dash forward, like the owl is helping you and keeping you up. So, and here you can see screenshots from our game. As you can see, you drum and it shows you these footprints and hints where to go next or what you can explore more. And what is our game about? It's healing and restoring. We actually, when we started the game development and did the first mechanics test, there was a lot of battle, a lot of like fighting going on, and I thought that something was off all the time. Maybe because Sámi people, we are not that big. We are lovers. We are not fighters.
Pacifists.
So, yeah, pacifists, and we kind of show that our demonstration is we do it differently. So we decided to go back to drawing board. I think it was 2020 when we changed the whole thing, that it's going to be healing and restoring rather than fighting and all that. So I think after that we found the core mechanics, and luckily our...
Was that before the pandemic start or after that you changed the things? Early year or... Can you remember?
I don't remember. You know, these last 3 years, they are kind of this blurry mess in my head.
Just one chunk. Yeah,
One
it's
chunk,
very difficult.
yeah. But it was, yes.
It was.
Yes, definitely it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we always had that healing part there, but it wasn't the main thing.
Yeah.
So after trying out this battling and fighting against these corrupted nature spirits, we decided to kind of, okay, it's not working. Let's go towards the healing and be more true to the actual culture, I think, in that
That's
sense.
very interesting.
Yeah. And we wanted to, like, personal thing why I wanted to make this game was also that I wanted to explore my roots and kind of redeem myself also, relearn my history, relearn the stories and all that, and kind of fix the broken identity that I had at the time. So that was my personal goal of making this game. And also I wanted to kind of teach people about Sámi culture, what it is and who are we, and just get people familiar with familiars and Sámi culture.
Your own background as a Sámi person, it's a very interesting story because like a lot of our viewers, it is. I think that you don't think that it's that interesting, but a lot of our viewers don't know that these cultural bounds were cut by the politics of a certain time. So how did you learn? Like you said that you didn't always know that much of your roots, and also this project was you restoring things. But can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. Straight to the deep end. Nice. Yeah. I don't remember if I mentioned it, but this process of writing Skábma was extremely difficult for me and emotional and hard because of the history and the traumas that has happened in my family.
Right.
And I had to go through them as I wrote this game.
Right.
Also. And so people who don't know about our culture, it's we've been affected of assimilation culture. It means that there were times where, for example, Sámi people weren't allowed to speak Sámi or express their culture in any way. It was seen as a shameful thing, that basically the outside people made us feel ashamed of our culture. So we stopped speaking Sámi entirely. At least in my family it happened. So my father is part of this so-called lost generation.
Yeah.
So the generation who lost the language and part of the culture, and
So it was even in the schools, the kids were beaten if they spoke anything else than Finnish.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just that the people kind of made you feel bad, but they also hurt the people that were talking.
Yeah,
Sami.
and you were punished
Physically.
about speaking any about your culture.
Yeah,
So that is
everything
something.
was needed to be learned by the books of
Yeah.
the others.
And
Mm.
even it went that far in Norwegian side of Sámiland, that it was in a law.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to speak
Yeah.
Sami. So in a way, in Norwegian side, it was a cultural genocide.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that is the reason why I kind of had this urge of creating this game, and I really needed to do something from my culture, just to start that healing process. So ironically, I don't know ironically, but maybe that is the reason why our game's theme is kind
Healing?
of healing,
Yeah.
healing and losing something and then regaining it. So like in this case, you have lost this Noaidi culture and you are bringing it back to the community. So challenges, otherwise that it's being hard being Sami and writing Sami things, because you cannot help diving too deep sometimes. Sami storytelling has always been oral tradition, so it's something that has been told by the campfires in order to teach children not to kill themselves when they go to the wilderness, basically. That you were teaching the boundaries of the living areas, where you can go and what you can do, or how to do things with these stories. So they were stories to educate, but also stories to entertain during the dark winter nights. And the actual first book about Sami came in 1910, Muistelus Saamit Pirra, by Juhan Turi. And before that, there weren't really that much content that was written by Sami or Sami-based content. So pretty much everything has been written by outsiders.
Yeah.
Like basically priests and explorers or anything.
Researchers.
Yeah. So that was these are the challenges, that there are no written language, and you are kind of, when you are digging deep to trying to find out what Sami way of life and beliefs were in a 15 or 1600, you have to go to the explorer's notes and go through them, and at the same time you have to remember that these are outsiders' views, and there are things that they might misunderstand that are not necessarily like they are in the culture. So it helps if you are inside the culture, so you kind of can avoid the worst misunderstandings. So, and as I said, these traditions were broken for generations or two. So that was one challenge, to just find the right people to talk to and find right sources to read and all that.
Who did you have to talk to when you were writing this?
Outi.
Oh,
that was one, and of course people from Parpmu, that is Inland Finland Sami Association.
yeah.
So I talked with them a lot.
So memory organizations.
Yeah, mainly. And
so your grandparents didn't live anymore, or
no,
yeah, there was nobody to ask from.
Yeah, that's the sad part. That I kind of discarded my heritage and found it again too late.
Yeah.
Because my grandmother died, it was a wake-up call for me. Like, okay, now it's going away. I should probably do something about it.
Yeah. What age you were?
I was 29,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. All of those years that you had, and then that sounds. I know the pain because I can't ask mine as well. Yeah.
I remember like I was 19 or something, and they opened the Oulu University, the Sámi studies there, and I thought that okay, I have to go there and learn Sámi and all that, but I didn't. I never did it.
Yeah.
It still haunts me.
Yeah.
That I
In your 20s, you think like you have all this time in
I
the
have
world.
all this time, and then I just spend it partying and I don't know. And then you are like in your 30s, and okay, I'm losing a culture. What should I do?
Right.
So it's so that was the time when I really started doing something about it and
Yeah.
relearning my culture.
A very nice way to relearn the culture is to create a game.
Yeah.
So this whole process was also like relearning process for you in terms of
Yeah,
like the
but maybe not the best way of
Not
like
the most efficient way.
yeah, the pain was real. Let me tell you. So
That's why we have the indie also in the title.
yeah. So those were kind of the challenges, like as a writer, of course. And when we are talking about the Noaidi system, that Christianity kind of destroyed that and destroyed the drum. So there are like these frictions left, and it is hard to tell from the new shamanism what's the old religion and what is the new one. And so that was so that was one reason why we decided to make this a fantasy game also, that we didn't want to put too much real history, because it would have been too difficult to start studying that topic.
And for the viewers that don't know who Outi, who is like our celebrity in a way, is a researcher that has been studying the game development and Sami culture. Also Sami herself. And together me and Marjaana Auranen, we created Sami Game Jam in 2018.
Yes. And then, we are still talking about the challenges. They never go away. Okay, I go this quickly. If we were talking about game design wise, there are so many pitfalls that you can fall into when you are any culture, especially indigenous cultures, when they are small communities and they don't probably want to share too much of the inside of the culture. But you can see a few photos here. These are not photos, these are drawings actually. And these are examples of things that we had to really look into, and these are Sámi handcrafts basically. And what's unique about the handcrafts, that they have specific patterns for females and males. Do you say males? Men.
Yes.
They are men.
Men.
And also there are taboos in Sami culture, and that you have to avoid, and such as one thing is that a woman cannot wear men's clothing, and then there are these we had to be very careful of like Sami belts, what is the shape of the belt buttons, because if they are round it means that you are single, and if they are square you are married. So our grandmother, for example, was single for a while, just because our designer didn't know these rules, and so everything. It might seem like, okay, let's just do it and let's just take this photo and draw it from there, but actually there is cultural knowledge there that you should really, really dig into to get to know these rules and regulations that there are.
So they all have information in the garment pieces, and if you don't know that, then you might kind of portray wrong information.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to show people that you are single if you are married. So those kind of information, and also you just have to be aware of what are the like the do's and don'ts in a culture, and if you want to break the rules, you have to be really careful of that you have a reason to do it.
Purposeful.
So not to just do it for fun.
So where did you draw your own knowledge of the garments? Did you also like consulted OT and others for the? Did you show the pictures of your drafts to?
I
the
actually went
specialists?
to the handcrafts courses
Right,
and
yeah.
learned to make my own dress and all that. So I kind of steadily during last 5 years I have been learning
Yeah,
to make these
on your own.
on my own. Of course, these shoe bands I don't know how to make them.
Right.
I have to admit. But yeah. It's been a lot of studying and also asking around and learning in these courses how these things go.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid in our game that we wouldn't use the dresses that and patterns that are like this modern version because they belong to each family.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to just take the
Portray.
thank you. We put it in our game. No,
Yeah.
we try to kind of create our own
Family.
family rules in this how they would dress in this village. But as you can see, this zigzag pattern, it's like the basic pattern that is in every shoe band in Sámiland.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that is one we kind of dare to take because
Right,
it's
right.
something that we use very
Mm-mm-mm.
very often.
So the buttons here, are these square buttons or because it's like it's a
They are square,
yeah.
meaning that she's married.
I'm like if there's like a twist somehow that it's shifted on the top of the like a diamond shape that there is a
Yeah, like a
Something
third
else.
option.
indeed.
It's difficult to explain.
Or it's like engaged, for
Yeah.
instance.
Complicated
It could be.
But no, nothing in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's very detailed.
There
question.
might be, but they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
that I've never learned that.
Yeah.
Does
So-
the color also means represent something
The
here?
red color.
The red color and the greenness in the fabric.
Or is it like gray?
Gray or
Gray, it's gray.
It's gray.
It depends. In the early, when we are talking about the era of this game, there were people, Sami people before that were usually reindeer leather garments, and when the
Quite-
fabrics came, the colors were gray and blue, and I think red, and red for the ones who were more money, I think,
More expensive.
more
Yeah.
expensive.
Red has been expensive.
Which
color
is
here.
weird that our main character is wearing red because they are poor.
So you made a little bit of these kind of adjustments there.
Yeah, yeah.
So not like completely going into
Yeah.
the knowledge of the dress.
Yeah, but I did this diagram of who in the family is wearing gray and who in the family is wearing red and what are the color patterns in it.
Right.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
kind of try to create that.
So there's much more than we can kind of see.
Yeah,
So it's sort of quite natural color selections over there. Red, grayish, coming from like leathers, fabric, but then also it could mean something in your game as well in terms of
we try to avoid the blue one.
Mm.
Just because it is the
Stereotypical.
stereotypical and like what we nowadays use a lot. So it's I didn't want to and the hats, for example, only one who is wearing a hat is our grandmother in the game, Ahku. So because when you put a hat on the character, it's immediately shows what side of Sámiland that character is from.
Right.
Ah.
So and we didn't want to narrow it down if we later on want to include I don't know Skoltsami, Sámi or
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, the hats
Yes.
are very different from region to another.
Yeah.
And
Also
did you
the-
want to create your own hat then in a way?
We actually did for one character that
Yeah,
I
okay.
cannot talk about.
Is it a spoiler?
Yes. I want to, but I cannot. Sorry.
We can invite you back a couple of years from now, and then you can spoil everything. From the game.
Everything. I will spoil everything then.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's for something for you to play and explore. The game is out in Steam, I guess.
It is now an Epic Store and Good Old Games
Yeah.
stores.
Yep.
So, and it is on discount for this week. Go.
Remember that.
Yes.
But if you watch this in the future, that might not be in discount anymore, or in a different one.
discount. Okay, yes, that's true.
In the future.
But I saw in the picture slide there was also a hat. Is that from the grandmother then?
Oh yes, this one. We did a lot of collectibles in our game. So this is actually there is a bit of story behind this hat. And it is the real history of these hats in a way that this used to be the hat everyone used to wear in Sámiland.
Right. Okay. So it's generic one.
Yeah,
Okay.
but for some reason, the people stopped wearing them, and allegedly it was because we were told that it resembles devil's horn.
Ah.
So when
From outside,
Christianity,
yeah, okay.
Christianity came, and after that we stopped using those hats,
Yeah.
and that is why it is these different hats that we have, and only Skoltsami.
Lassi, can you show us the full slide only view, so that we can see the hat?
Yeah,
Yeah, this way. So,
So-
even with this horns,
Oh.
with this hat also, like that, it looked
devils.
devilish.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So, but nowadays it's coming back.
I think they were jealous about the hat.
Yeah.
So colorful and pretty.
Yeah.
It is. It's called
What does
it's
come of
called
us?
sarvilakki in Finnish, but it's called in Sami it's more latjokahpir. It's more ribbon hat.
Oh, okay.
Because there were this ribbon that surrounded the horn.
So the Finnish translation actually reflects the Christian
Yeah.
interpretation of the hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
When the
Horn-
Sami ones were
horn
talking
hat.
about the ribbons.
Brilliant.
So those kind of things
Oh,
that
no.
you can actually find in our game that kind of tells you a little bit cultural insight and our history.
Yeah.
Some stories are happy and some stories are sad and some stories in the middle. So
Happy, sad.
Holds very educational value, historical value in there, and all the symbols in the games as well.
yeah.
I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I've played a demo, or the prototype that you had, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But I'm really looking forward to collect this hat.
You
Now that you
can
mention
find
it.
it's there is a tons of things you can find in our game and they are so well hidden. Thank you for our level designer. Even I haven't found everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
A depth for the hardcore players then.
Yeah. But I heard that there are helps for that.
Okay.
So it's easier to find them. But I recommend to find everything because the work I've done for them.
Yeah.
But especially bunnies. I kind of started to create these bunny characters that the players can find, and they each have their own story. And I don't know. I just love the bunny characters. So please find the bunnies in our game and pet the reindeers. But that is also important. So okay, challenges there were and how to do things right. I don't know if this fits like the how we are having this conversation, but this is like the overall like advice if you ever want to make an indigenous game or
I'm gonna mention before you go that somebody in the chat has already found 5 bunnies, so they're on the
Yes.
way.
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
There are
Go ahead.
19 of them, I think.
Yeah.
19 or 20. I don't
Now
remember anymore.
important tips for anybody creating indigenous games.
Yeah, that's this is like a overall thing that is maybe nowadays people are scared to create content that would include minority cultures or indigenous cultures because of being afraid of doing something wrong. But that shouldn't stop people of creating these contents, because there's definitely, you can go long way with just educating yourself and including the people from the culture and just talking a lot, reading a lot, and trying to understand the culture. But of course, you shouldn't do it if you don't have the right motives. So if you just want to add like exotic stuff to your game, maybe not do it. But if there is a reason to include indigenous people or the object from our cultures or anything like that, if there is a reason story-wise, then please, you can do it. Just do your research, basically. Understand your responsibilities, however, that especially if this is the first time this culture is presented in the media. So you have to always think about what kind of image does this give to the people and players.
And it doesn't even have to be the very first one, but if you like strike big and it delivers to a wide percentage of people that never heard about the culture before, then your responsibility is quite heightened.
Yeah, it is stressful. You have to think about that. Is this the right image that I'm offering for people? So is this too stereotypical? For example, when we made Skábma, I was really pondering, is this a good choice that this is like the 1700s time period, because it's very stereotypical. There are reindeers and these teepee like lavvus that we live in and all that.
Yeah,
but at the
ascetic
same
living.
but still it's our history. I don't know how to go around it in that way.
Hopefully there will be so much more of the games that also portray the modern life, and so that the baggage will be lowered later. So that's what we are waiting for, that there will be more games.
I would love to create maybe more Sami themed game with modern twists, so that would be actually great to try to rethink Sami and have this like a post-apocalyptic Sami vibes going on.
Yeah, because zombies and Sami.
Yeah, there is this amazing cartoon artist called Sunna Kitti who has made these cartoon drawings, and it is about apocalyptic Sami. All these fears that we have come to life, like pollution and I don't know. It's so great to
climate change.
Yeah, see her work. But that was basically the end of my lecture. Respect would go long ways, many ways. So
we have tons of questions to you, though. So
okay, that's
so
nice.
If that's if you already you've done your talk.
I have multiple pictures here.
Okay,
still,
explain.
But just from the game, that petting reindeers, that is important thing in a game, I think. But nothing important here, so I can just scroll the pictures while you're asking questions.
I want to see the picture that you had, the light effect. Like it looked a little bit like antlers. Is that
this one? Oh, yeah. They are kind of expression of maybe northern lights, kind of thing. This is one of our spirit realms, if I can say that without spoiling too much.
I can see that you're kind of trying to concentrate on, because it is an adventure-driven game. It's easy to spoil.
And it's very linear.
Yeah.
It's my stomach making these hungry noises.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's about it. On my behalf.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions from the students and also from us, of course. So for instance, you've been already covering a lot of these in your presentation. But I guess a lot of the students are worried about how to depict the cultures like perfectly. And you had this stress also, perhaps in a way. You cannot do that. Yeah.
You cannot. It's impossible because we are individuals and we have subjective views about the culture. For example, what I know about my culture is not what, for example, Outi knows about the culture. So different Sami has different views, and especially when we have 9 different languages and areas, so there is going to be differences. Like the character in a West Sami might be totally different than in East Sami, even though the character has the same name. So you cannot. You have to just pick the line.
Right.
What is your direction, and be able to just justify the decisions that you're making.
Yeah.
And which part of it will be represented, and like it's a matter of representation.
And that means if one wants to make a game about the culture that is not your own, it isn't enough that you speak one person.
Yeah.
You have to talk tons of people from that culture.
Yeah.
To understand the full picture and understand the diversity inside the culture.
Yeah, and understand what could be like the most difficult things to portray if it's like not so shared, but then very touchy, for instance.
Yeah.
Or the ones that are very clear for everybody, so that it's easier to do. That's a very, very good point, that we've seen some games that have been maybe consulted maybe just a couple of people with a little bit of background, and that's not enough on a larger scale of the cultural representation.
Because some things that are taboos in maybe other parts of Sámiland are not taboos in my corner.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot of my culture, that what are the no-nos, what I shouldn't say or do. So yeah, that's the key, to interview a lot of people and try to hit like the closest you can.
Yeah.
But you never ever, you are not able to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Because of the subjective matter.
Yeah. How about playtesters? Did you have Sami testers to test your prototype, and did you get like indigenous feedback?
I got feedback from Parmu, obviously, and then we have Mikkel Sara, who is from Mixapix Interactive from Norway. So Mikkel has been our consultant in many ways here, and he has also made kids play this game.
Okay.
But it's
and that was in Norway.
That was in Norway,
Yeah.
Norwegian side. And the feedback has been, I don't know, touching in a way that they are super excited.
Intuited,
Yeah.
So motivating to you as well when you've seen the feedback. Oh
Yeah.
That's nice.
And that kind of also leads to like the message that you wanted to, what you mentioned before, that you want more of this Sami culture game, like themes coming up, more interpretations,
and more these young kids understand that they can really portray their culture in multiple forms, like whether it's short films or animations or games, that because those are things you can do even you are doing your traditional like reindeer herding or other traditional living. So I would love to see more these cultural products coming out.
Right.
And but it doesn't help. It doesn't happen without help of people who know how to make games and teach them to make games.
Well, you had your degree as a game developer.
Oh, so and I cannot teach anyone anything because I'm a writer and producer. So it's more. I can tell people how to get funded and how write a script.
That's already a big part of a game, though.
That's a big part.
But like going to Unity or. I can open it. I have opened it.
I think it's gonna be a lot for a lot of people already to just open, at least for me, to open Unity and do something in it. But nevertheless, like I think that we're gonna see more tools that are easy to use. No code program, for instance. So do you think that there will be fellow Sami people that would be doing their own personal experiences as a game. Do you see that trend?
I see that, and there are Mikkel actually is Mikkel Sara is a part of this cultural school bag program in Norway, government funded. That they go around schools and they teach traditional like the yoik singing, and then also game making, and that is
That's
super important
nice.
that these tools are taught to kids so they can play around and see what happens, what kind of stories they create.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Sami in it, just
Yeah. And that's also one
Whatever.
of the things that you already mentioned a couple of times, this concept ethno-stress.
oh yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What is ethno-stress then?
Ethno-stress is a particular kind of stress where you feel like that everything you do in life has to serve the cultural surviving in a way that your culture is endangered, whether it's the language or traditional skills. And ethno-stress is that you are trying to keep that culture alive. You're trying to master the languages. You're trying to master the handcraft skills.
Yeah.
You are trying to, give birth to multiple children that people don't.
It.
Yeah. So it is this kind of urgency of understanding that we are really fighting to keep the culture alive.
So it kind of, the pressure comes to the individuals that are part of a small group that needs to survive. So individuals might feel that you don't get to be without the collective in a way, that you always have to represent, you have to do the things in the right way.
And you have to be perfect. You have
Yeah.
to be super Sami, so
Yeah,
to call,
yeah.
so-called. So
to help the survival of the culture.
yeah,
So-
and it kind of kills the. In some ways, it might cause that you feel like you don't have a choice. You have to do it this way,
Yeah,
or otherwise it is your fault that
Yeah.
the culture is dying.
yeah.
So,
So you mentioned that maybe it doesn't have to be about the Sami tradition, the game that is made, but then the Sami kids would create the games that they want to create from their own experiences. And then maybe the cultural images are there somehow, but not necessarily so that it is completely about the representation of the different garments or stories and so on and so forth. We just have way too little games and other cultural products as well from the small groups that the ethno-stress is really real thing.
yeah. But also, I think that games, making games or creating your own stories in whatever format they are, it is a part of healing. And this kind of, if you feel like this ethno-stress, for example, it can help if you put it on the paper and start bringing these issues open, because in the Sami culture it is very I don't know if it's very common, but at least in my family you don't speak about these issues.
Yeah.
There is this culture of not speaking, and it has been going on 2 generations almost.
Yeah, and from the trauma of the assimilation
Yeah.
that has come to the kind of that it's almost like a secretive thing. You have to hide your cultural identities, and then it is just passed on for the next generations.
Yeah. You're carrying this burden on your back, and you necessarily don't even know what that bag is
Yeah.
until you start speaking it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you start handling those issues with your family. And I think during this process, this is the first time that me and my father, for example, has been speaking about Sami and the issues that he went through when he was a child. So
Has your father played the game?
no,
Is he at all a person that would play a game like this?
probably not.
Oh,
But I will show him a video.
Yeah.
Or he probably have seen them already. I
Maybe
don't
he's
know.
playing it in secret and then we'll share
That
it to
could
you
be.
later.
Yeah.
There's another question about this kind of authenticity, specifically about the voice acting.
Yeah, there were a
Can-
lot of questions about voice
Vo-
acting
yeah.
and the language as well.
Yeah. So how do you how did you do that? Can you open up a little bit of a process of how did you do the voice parts of the game?
I didn't do them. That is the secret.
Mm-hmm.
It
But
was-
maybe you know more than us, though.
Yeah. Actually, it was. We were supposed to record those in Norway,
Mm-hmm.
but something came up called pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of were forced to record them in Tampere, in southern Finland. So that also narrowed down a little bit of where can we find our voice talents.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily we found a great crew through social media and personal connections, and got Hilda Länsman, for example, our amazing Áilu and Nana.
Mm-hmm.
She plays 2 characters in our game and also does the singing and yoiking, and so and of course we have Ture Laiti and Petra Laiti and all these great actors there that helped us
Yeah.
to create these characters and bring them to life.
Were they professional voice actors or just like actors? What was the kind of
Right.
experience background of them to do the voice acting for the game?
I don't believe none of them are.
Mm.
They were first timers,
Yeah.
all of them.
It-
So and yeah, especially I think Ture and Hilda were like amazing.
Yeah,
For
they
the
sound, it
first
sounds
timers,
really
they-
perfect. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
very natural.
Mm.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we got so many questions from our students, even before the lectures, like about the language. How did you translate it or restore the language in script?
And
then
which
who
Sami
was the
is that
voice?
actually? Is
That is
Northern Sami?
Tavi Saamekiela, the northern Sámi
Okay.
language, and actually we are there are 2 dialects spoken in a game.
Right.
So there are the eastern dialect and western dialect.
Okay.
So if you're Sami, you might notice the difference and be like, "What? why is that person speaking like that?" But it was also
Yeah.
that the actors came from different parts of Sámiland.
Are they kind of their own language per se? Like
Yeah,
each actor's
the
own
actors, yeah.
actors.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So they're
So-
performing basically their own language. Like
Their own
yeah,
way of
their
speaking.
own way
Yeah.
of speaking. Quite
It
natural.
would be quite. Like the market is not super big, so to have this like a specialized person that would know all the Sami dialects and be able to be like a really good voice actor, it's like sounds a little bit
Yeah,
a niche
and
market.
yeah, and to be honest, the pool of talents is not that big.
Yeah, indeed.
If we think about it, game designers in Sámiland, like they are, I know, under 5 or something. So, and the same goes to voice actors and all that. So it's, but those who we found were amazing, and yeah, and then we had 3 Sámi translators,
Right.
and they were amazing too, because I was kind of was carried away with writing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I was supposed to write 12,000 words or something. I don't know what I promised to the publisher, and then ended up 30,000 something.
Okay.
So there was a lot to translate and a lot of puns, because I love to write
Write
these
puns.
little jokes and dad jokes there and like these awkward things
So they are
there.
difficult to translate for sure.
Yeah, very difficult. But luckily we had the Sami professor Ante Aikio who is translating those, and Aino Valovirta, and then we have Arla Mankka. So the amazing team to translate and try to like figure out what I'm trying to say.
So about your own language background, did you learn it as a kid to speak Sami? Did you have to go to school to like at what point did you learn to write Sami?
It in my region it wasn't even an option to study Sami.
Yeah.
And my grandmother never passed on the language skill to my
Right.
father, And I actually learned as an adult that my grandmother even spoke Sámi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even know.
Very hidden
She never
background.
spoke
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
And I heard that it was kind of secret that they put children by the door to watch if anyone is coming in,
Yeah.
and then they could talk Sámi inside.
Oh.
Yeah.
But they were guarding like that nobody
Would hear
would hear.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've started my Sámi studies 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying pretty hard.
So which language did you write the script? Was it in Finnish or was it in English or was it in Sámi?
I wrote it in English.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just to get it. In the office, we often speak English because of
Mm.
the multicultural team and all that
Mm.
that has been. So it's easier to keep everything in English.
Mm.
And then, yeah.
So this is exactly the background of the Sami people of our age, that the language is not a mother tongue because you learned Finnish. So it's sad that you can't really write the script in your own language, and then it would be translated to multiple languages.
Yeah, and that's especially hard
Variations.
when you're a creative person, when the language is super important part of that skill, and you cannot use it the way and that variety that you would want to use it. And that is maybe something that I always going to have a sore spot in my
Yeah.
heart, that I
Yeah.
can never be native
In Sámi.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
But-
it was taken from me.
Was it also Northern Sami that is your background? So there's multiple Sami languages, and many of them have already died. And maybe during the pandemic there was I don't know, was there actually one more language that was lost, or
It was before pandemic,
before?
I
Okay,
think.
so there's like
Yeah.
older people that were the sole persons that spoke that specific Sami language, and when they're gone, the language is gone. And that has happened to many of the languages already. But was your family's Sami? Was it Northern Sami? What was it?
There has been I have the east side and the west side in my family.
Okay.
So there is the Anar Sami, that
Mhm.
there are 400 speakers, and then there is the Northern Sami
Right.
also.
Yeah.
But Anar Sami was the latest that
Yeah,
we
so Inarin
spoke.
Sami.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's one of that's very interesting. I also I have some of my backgrounds are in Sami culture, but it's completely lost. So I have no understanding of what language would it be that my grandparents were talking, because it was
Probably-
completely hidden thing as well.
Yeah, probably Northern Sami.
Yeah,
If
in
you
Hetta.
west
Hetta.
side. Yeah.
All right. So there was you mentioned the publisher. So was it difficult to sell the idea to publishers? Can you open up a bit of that, or do you want to open it up?
Oh yes, it was a long journey. Let's say we
Yeah.
started already 2017, like right away.
Yeah.
Like selling this. We did multiple demos, and every time we got the new demo, we were like, okay, this is it. Now we
Now
got
we're
the
gonna get
yeah.
the publisher. Yeah.
Never got it.
Now you got it.
Now I got it. I think the reason why we didn't manage to get it was that they thought that the topic was and the player base was too
Too
niche,
small. Yeah.
too small. And also they were asking us to do these compromises
Right.
without game. I cannot speak English at this moment.
I guess that's the pattern that the publishers would think about the kind of commercial part of it, and they would like you to do something in
Yeah,
that
like
it doesn't
prove
really
that these
fit.
kind of things they sell, and because there isn't that many indigenous games out there that you can prove. Only like reference that we have was Never Alone,
Yeah. the
and that
Inuit
is
game.
kind of ridiculous to compare,
Yeah.
because they had the proper funding and all that, like the marketing and all that was way bigger than
Yeah.
in our game. So
But yeah, what were the compromises that can you remember any of the compromises that were asked from the publisher's side? Like
usually
any
it was
suggestions?
it was about the language too. Does it have to be in Northern Sámi language, for
Right.
example? And
They
that
want it
was
to be
like
English?
okay.
They want it to be English. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
And that was something that
No.
no, we
Mm.
want to because of the history and the how important the language is.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
there's
it's-
also very historical like heritage as well itself, the language itself in the game.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's like from the perspective of a player, even though I wouldn't have the background, it would be. I think this is the right time to make culturally different and diverse games. We are very interested in beyond English, so to
Yeah.
speak. But
Right.
maybe we're just minority of the players. But I can see that there's a rise for the diversity in a lot of the.
Let's hope
markets.
so. I think that there are times that people, you know, there were time when there was a lot of zombie games
Mm.
and a lot of Viking games and a lot of I don't know ancient Egypt games or something like that. So after a while, these same old starts to kind of feel not so
Boring, yeah.
meh. So I think people are ready
And open.
and open
Mm.
for new cultures and diversity in games.
What do you think? Like the publisher is one of the kind of bottlenecks for sure for getting the projects out there. But do you think there's other reasons that there would be? Because we know very few of the Sámi games. There is very few of them. This is maybe the first like really big release of a sort. So what do you think are what is the main reasons from your perspective that there isn't that many games?
About in
Sámi.
or
Yeah.
Sámi.
Sámi in
There
general.
isn't that many people making those games.
yeah. So
That
the
is
group of people is
yeah.
small.
And I think that there is I cannot say lack of funding because in Norwegian side
Mm.
they have the money.
They have funding. Yeah.
Yes, they have funding. So they
Mm.
do a lot of these mobile games and these teaching the languages and all that. So, but I think it's also kind of I don't know. Maybe
Ethno-stress.
ethno-stress and maybe people are afraid, a little bit afraid of maybe the community judging them or something. I don't know because it is small places, small villages and small
Yeah, yeah.
communities. So
They
for
don't want to
me,
step on the toes of the family in a way.
yes, and me not living in Sámiland, it was
Mm.
easier because I'm already looking from outside. So it's I don't have to make every time I go to the village to kind of explain myself because I'm in southern Finland.
Yeah.
So
But the vast majority of the Sami people live outside the Sámiland,
Yeah.
which is also very interesting. So we have a lot of people living in the cities, in the modern
Helsinki is the
yeah.
biggest Sami village in Finland. Oh, Oulu
Oulu.
grew
Okay.
bigger. Oulu is the biggest Sami
Okay.
village
Yeah,
nowadays.
they're closer.
Helsinki is multicultural city
But
after all.
I also have the sense that we actually have more game developers that have Sami background, but they are not keen on kind of making that as part of their game development identity. Have you been afraid of kind of being somehow I think it's really fancy stigma, to be honest, but do you think that can hinder your future if we think about the people that might be afraid of putting themselves as an indigenous game developers in the Sámiland, for instance, or the Sami background? Do you have any of that fear that would affect your future anyhow?
Like I couldn't do anything else but Sami related
I
things.
don't know what it is because people want to hide the identities. It's just this package from the generations, and I don't personally know why. But
I had that for a long time. I had that shame
yeah,
that I didn't know my language and I felt that there was something missing and I was embarrassed that I didn't know. And that kind of held me back for a long time.
That's
and
very
now when
interesting.
I got over that during this process and during all the other getting to know other Sami families and getting to know my history and all that, now when I'm over that, I don't mind
Yeah, you should feel more confident on kind
Yeah.
of your like what is it called, blind spots, for instance.
Right,
Yeah.
So there's need like the confident level that needs to be
Yeah.
achieved.
That's
upfront.
that's super interesting. I never thought it this way, but it could also apply to other indigenous cultures and their kind of. I don't think that we can call us young, but in a way, young
Right.
We are
developers.
young.
We're still young.
I guess this might be also related to like, am I allowed to talk about my culture if I
Yeah,
can't?
am I-
Yes,
am I
am I-
Sami
wouldn't-
enough?
yeah,
In a
am
way?
I,
yes,
like,
am I the
legit-
right person,
Right person,
to
right.
exactly.
present?
So like
And-
that type of like
Yeah.
thinking of
But if
getting prepared.
everyone would think that, then there wouldn't be any
Anything.
Sami content, any
Mm.
indigenous content, because someone has to do it.
Right.
Mm.
And whether it goes wrong or you make errors or it doesn't matter, someone has to do it. And then
Mhm.
you learn and you make it better next
Mhm.
time and all that. People maybe they are scared to make mistakes or scared to lose their face or
Yeah.
kind of
But it's not
you
so
need
easy.
yeah, but you need to have that guts and like the
Mm.
will and the hunger to
Mm.
do those things.
Mm.
Like, okay, if I'm not going to do it, no one is going to do it, and it's not gonna happen.
Mm.
So, okay, I'm taking this risk, and I'm I'm tearing myself apart because of it. But yeah, it was worth it, even though I don't know what's gonna happen if there's going to be critic towards the game or anything like that. But
you're ready to take it and kind of face it, that what happens.
yeah, if it's
afterwards.
easier to next ones, then it was worth it. Like, okay, I did it, so
Yeah.
don't do the same mistakes I made.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
your turn. I'm
bef-
like paving the way. Like,
Before we started streaming, you talked about your scarf that you're wearing today. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
that's
So it's a Sami
Okay.
scarf.
it
Yeah.
is. Yes, is it okay?
It looks
It-
perfect.
It
Yeah, it
looks
should
pretty.
be very nicely put. But it's it is my Sami scarf. This is one of our cultural things that we wear to show people that
But is
we are
it
Sami.
like, how is it supposed to be worn? This way?
Yeah, no. This is backwards.
Backwards.
Yeah, it is supposed to be very nicely with these brooches
Hmm.
in
In a
front of-
certain traditional way.
yeah, it depends. In an Anar Sami way, it's only with one brooch and very
Mm.
loosely. It's
Mm.
white scarf, very simple. But this is, for example, from the west side tradition. So it's more colorful and should be worn very strictly.
Yeah.
put
Is it
here.
for special occasions only, or is it very like daily life scarf?
Actually, this silk scarf is something that very many Sami people wear just in any occasion.
Any occasion.
Mm.
Usually when we meet other Sami or have these events, then we put on, sometimes we put the full dress on, but sometimes we just have these one or two things that kind
Right.
of have, like, we can show each other that
We are one of
we are one. So yeah.
like one of us.
Yeah.
scarf. That's
So, but the reason why I ask about the scarf is that I'm curious about your fellow of the same age of the Sami people. Do you see other women wear the scarf this way? That it would be like a wrong way. Is it like is it your
Nowadays,
generation?
yes,
Yeah.
especially in southern Finland. I
Mm.
don't know how it's in, because I don't live up north. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how common is there. But the younger generation, they usually kind of break
Change
the
it-
rules and
change a
change
bit
the
of it.
rules.
Yeah.
So of course it is important to know the traditions, but in order
that
to
you know,
break them.
so you can be a rebel in a right way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
Because
not a
for
mistake.
example, I'm making the hoodie gakti at the
Mm.
moment, like
Yeah.
the dress with the college dress with the hood.
Ah, yeah,
So it's kind of a modern version of our dress,
yeah.
just
Very
to
nice.
create something that is more like comfortable to wear. Because
Mm.
if you put the Sami dress on, it's very kind of formal.
Yeah.
In a way, it's very festive.
Mm,
So
So like a little bit more comfortable for a daily outfit, like
Yeah.
easier to wear or something like that. Yeah. How about like having like non-Sami people to actually try out this scarf or dress? How would that be considered for Sami community?
The dress is no. The dress is something that has been like there has been made these tourist versions of the dresses, and for example, the dress that one of the dress, I have two dress patterns in my family. The one from the west side is something that they used a lot in tourist dresses. So, no dress, but there are like certain items that you can, and what they sell actually in these traditional handcraft stores. You can buy scarf, the woolen scarf, or you can buy the fur shoes, or you can use the belts and all that. But
Mindful about the shapes on the belt, I guess.
yeah, you have to be careful what shapes there are.
Right.
If
So
there
they're
are
like,
buttons, then you should like check out the shape of the buttons.
If there would be a game that has this like the typical like a role-playing game these days that you would get these garments, like in your game also you find these pieces, but like how about the kind of a very like how would you feel to create a role-playing game where you would have all sorts of different modifications for the players available? Like what would that be also like kind of on the no-no side that you can't mix this with this item?
Oh, but it would be funny, like the player is trying to change the appearance. No, you cannot.
Oh yeah,
It's
there's
like
a mechanic for it.
Yeah. Okay, this is east side. No, you cannot do that.
Or maybe like in a game that you would choose your outfit and then all the villagers would be completely not happy with you, so that the outfit would have all these meanings, like the ones that maybe if you have the single person belt and then a lot of people would come on to you and then try to hit you.
right.
In our game, we try not to. For example, we don't ever tell if Áilu is a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
That is something that if you look at the dress that they are wearing, some might think that Áilu is he, but we never tell. So Áilu might be rebel in that case. And Áilu is also a name that can be kind of a boy's or girl's name. Aile, Áilu.
Is that that's like a conscious choice for you because of your own values that you want to bring into the Sami culture as well?
I didn't want to just point out things that are not like they are not meaningful for the story.
So you don't have to emphasize it. Yeah.
And even we also had the idea in early idea while making the game that one of the older girls in the village would be like the fashionista and trying to like break the rules and new patterns and like creating more patterns to her dress and all that.
But that didn't go into the game, no.
Oh, too little time.
Oh yeah, always. But what is your favorite character in Skábma? Like, what do you think is like maybe it's the main
Without
character
making too much
or
spoilers right there.
Nana.
Okay.
The Áilu's younger cousin, because she's me when I was growing up, and also one other Sami girl I know from Tampere is one of our association's members' kid. Because it reminds me, I wrote kind of Nana as this headstrong and I will survive anything and I do this by myself and I don't help me type of person. And that's something that is really very Sami, I think. We were raised to be independent and just do things our own. Basically kicked out of the front door and survived there. I don't know. That was our kind of upbringing. So I poured a lot of that to Nana character. Also that being these very I don't know the right word. This not annoying, sassy.
Sassy, yeah.
Sassy, like this, saying all this
Snappy?
things. Snappy, maybe.
That's like a negative though.
No,
Yeah.
sassy.
Sassy is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the team that created this. How many people did you have in the team?
Overall, if I think that the 8,
Mm.
I think
What kind of
most
cultural
of the time
backgrounds?
8.
Were you the only Sami person in the team, or were there others that were also in your studio?
In the team, yes. And
Mm.
then there were Mikkel from Norway, but
The
Mikkel
consulting,
was there. So there were people from US and Russia and Germany, and current team is actually they are all from Finland,
Mhm.
which is weird.
Did the pandemic kind of get rid of the other nationalities? So.
I think that because it has been like 5 years and
Yeah.
people are like
Leaving the country.
yeah,
Mm.
Comes and
kind
go.
of, yeah.
Mm.
But we
Yeah.
have had because usually there is much more movement,
Mm.
ins and outs in a game company. So we have had fewer that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we are a bit of like a small family,
Yeah.
Mm.
and this has been our passion
Baby.
project. So
Yeah.
Right.
people they want to stay with us. I don't know after this when this comes out. They are like, okay, bye.
The book is
So
done.
there's-
and
So
close
there's
it.
Yeah.
8 members, and on top of that, there's a lot of Sami translators, voice actors,
Mm.
contributors,
Yes,
right?
Yeah. Of course, there is a lot of people behind it,
Mm.
and during these years, there have been multiple people. I don't even remember
Involved.
every.
Yeah. But
Right.
they're in the final texts, I guess,
They
in
are
the
there.
credits.
Yeah, they are
Special
there
thanks
in
to.
credits.
Yeah.
Right.
But
So-
were there any other indigenous culture backgrounds from the people of the 8 of your team?
Actually, our publisher
Mhm.
representative Stanislas is Ainu,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that was one reason why he fought so hard to
Yeah.
be our publisher.
But what is Ainu?
Oh.
Ainu is a Japanese indigenous
Yeah.
people living. I think it was the northern islands.
Mhm.
Hokkaido area,
Yeah.
very northern part.
A little bit of like connection from the
Yeah.
because there's a connection between Japan and Finland,
Yeah,
and then
and there
that
are
too.
Ainus also, I think, living in Russia. I
Mm.
think.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a
So-
very close to the borderlines,
Mm.
those areas, very
Yeah.
northest part
Mm.
of
Yeah.
Japan, and it's also quite remarkable history, but also a lot of assimilation
assimilation
politics
Yeah,
as well.
and there's
Mm.
the similar experiences of losing the language and all that. So.
That's super fascinating. I think that like in the Finnish school system, for instance, we had I can't even remember, did we learn about Sami
2
culture?
pages.
I guess, yeah.
In historical textbook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
remember
don't know,
2
like,
pages.
few
Oh.
generations back,
Yeah.
maybe even less. So there's a
Mm.
very little understanding of that in the broader cultural sphere of our education. But it's hopefully getting better altogether. So compared to some other regions where you teach these indigenous habits and cultures for everybody, all the kids in the school, we don't have that. So there's like a lot of importance in game creation, like Marjaana's, to spread the message
Right.
to as broad as possible. So when we, for instance, did the Sami game jam in Utsjoki, where Outilaiti was from and is from,
That was in 2018.
2018. So it was kind of difficult when we, for instance, thought about the press release, that how do we word it, that Sami Game Jam doesn't mean anything for some Finns. It just means the first name, Sami.
Sami.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sam in a way.
Samuel,
So it's
yes.
it's a very difficult to try to I guess engage the audiences that don't even know what they could like to hear about, because they don't know anything about it.
Mm.
So hopefully it gets
They
better.
don't know what they are missing. That's
They
the
don't
thing,
know,
because
yeah.
we don't talk enough.
Yeah.
And it's so different than like in Aotearoa, the New Zealand, where my sister used to live there, and her children, they were taught Maori languages
Yeah.
in school.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in
Hakka. It's
Yeah.
quite famous
Dance.
there in New
Yeah.
Zealand.
traditions. Yeah, very different.
And in Finland, even Sami don't know their history,
yeah,
and it's super sad that
yeah, it is.
it's kind of we only are good when we are needed to be in front of tourists or exotic kind of decoration in a corner.
And it can be
So-
even internalized so that it becomes a part of your identity when you're this exotic person that gets living from tourism, for instance.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
I guess that's what you mentioned about like this dress that's known for tourism. That like it's kind of you try to overcome from this little tourism figures in the side
Yeah,
of it, and then
But it
you
is
try
a
to find
double-edged sword because we
Exactly.
need the tourism and we need because the traditional handcrafts don't survive if there aren't people buying those products. And at the same time, if people are too afraid of buying those, it's not going to do us a service. But
Did you follow the Frozen 2 movie process? Because there was Sami. I haven't even seen the movie, but
it was
there's a Sami representation in the movie, and there was consultation of also.
right. Disney
from the-
released videos that they consulted with Sami
oh
people.
yeah, finally
and
they
like-
did the first one without consulting.
Yeah.
So and they were like this little talk
Bad
about
rep.
was that right thing to do, and then they're
Ah.
okay, we are doing the next one right.
right.
Yeah, I think it was the first, and it was a good attempt to kind of really involve Sami or indigenous culture into making this. And they did a great job in some of the story aspects that they have really heard Sami, for example, the reference to Alta Dam, when the dam is like blown in the end of the animation and all that. So I really loved
Oh no!
those.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
No.
But it wasn't
already
our
out.
game
Yeah,
spoiler.
the movie has been
So-
out for several
For-
years, so
it's
no
okay to
worries.
spoil now. But nevertheless, like it's there because I'm thinking that Disney has such a kind of with such a spreaded influence. Do you think that's gonna help also your game to be that there is a more interest towards that? Are you able to utilize a little bit of the Disney education?
We kind of thought that we would,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the case
No.
because it's kind of gives this Disney version of the
it.
culture.
Yeah.
So it's and I don't know, maybe it helped with the publishers when we were talking about Sami culture. They understood a bit what we were talking
Right.
about when
Yeah.
we kind of got these references.
Mm.
But otherwise, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that it is a factor in.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Spreading
kind
the
of
awareness.
spread out the word Sami in a little bit more like to mainstream media, and
Is it,
that's
is it
kind
in
of
the,
it.
How is
maybe
it in the movie? I don't
Disney.
know about it. Is
It
not
really
mentioned?
isn't. That's the thing that they don't really point out the Sami.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
I think they never said it.
Yeah,
Say
because
it
there's
in the
another
film.
animation
So-
feature film that
Klaus.
that
Yeah.
has the Sami. It's like, is it like when I watched it? It's like, what is this? This is
They,
super
they,
weird.
don't,
It
they
has a
don't
little bit
mention
like
it, but then they mention it at the behind the scene
Yeah.
video
Yeah.
on YouTube on Disney Channel,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
about the
But it's like
consultations.
it
and-
felt almost like that. Are they embarrassed to say it's
Yeah.
Sami
Yeah.
or something because they didn't mention that
Yeah.
enough?
But
and
Disney
I-
has been notorious with Pocahontas and others, like kind of making these cultural mistakes constantly. But
I was really disappointed
Disney
in
culture.
Oscar Gala when there was this Frozen song,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it wasn't in Sami language.
Oh,
There were
yeah,
the
yeah.
yoik artists doing something on the background, but it was like okay, it's you could have done it also in Northern Sami,
Yeah.
and there were other countries like Swedish
yeah.
version.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all these like not Sami.
Yeah, I was
What
also
were you
I noticed
thinking?
that.
It's
Right.
from Sami culture, and you don't include Sami in that. Like that was the only thing when I was so pissed off with that,
Yeah, they
that
invited
big company
singers.
who I'm not going to offend here.
Nevertheless, I think that they are not fast learners in this area. I think that they're still Disney. They do their Disney things, and I don't know how it works, but it sounds a little bit like they're still really on the worst
They
side.
are
of this.
learning, and
Yeah, they're learning still,
yeah.
the
making it better.
progress, I guess,
They're
is
trying.
kind of it's slowly in progress, but it's not enough. It has to be
Not
even
enough,
more,
yeah. I
and
think
then
that this-
maybe like efforts like Skábma could be like more and more, and there could be more books, stories, animations, and films about Sámi people, and then it eventually will progress
I
in a
think
way.
As
there
well as other indigenous.
Yeah.
and there will be because of there was this few years back they formed this Indigenous Sámi Film Institution.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that is
Ah.
something that has really spread awareness towards Sámi films and guided and helped Sámi talents to create their
Finland?
own. I think it's in Sweden, Norway, Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden and Norway does a much
Yeah.
better job in these kind of things, I guess.
Oh,
So. But hey, let's move to almost like I haven't spot any questions from the chat, but I have this kind of a last question that comes from our students as well. Is that maybe too early to ask? You probably know what kind of question you're anticipating. But if you would be making another game about Sámi, what would you do differently?
now that you have this all
Have you
5
already
years of
thought
learning
about after these
experience?
3 days that you are going to do another
If
Sámi
I
game?
would have more funding, I would include more Sámi artists
Yeah.
Ah.
while making this because we were really struggling with funding, so we couldn't get that many people to make
Involved. Yeah.
game.
Right.
That would be definitely one. I would like to also kind of break free from, I don't know. Hopefully at some point I would love to make a fantasy game, but kind of related to modern
Right.
days, like
Yeah.
Rana,
Mm.
Shaman Girl type of. Oh, we did that already. But
You
you
forgot
know,
it.
like modern version of Sámi,
Mm-mm-mm.
and not the historical version or that.
Would you do a sci-fi Sámi
Oh,
game?
it would be so great to have
Yeah.
Oh.
like cyberpunk.
Oh yeah.
Kind of.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So if you're an investor, just make Marjaana's company so well invested that we can see this kind of cyberpunk Sámi game. That would
What
be-
she said. Yes.
Let's kind of move on to the last part. I'm not absolutely sure how our script goes, but unless like Solip, do you have some questions you want to ask before we go to the final trailer?
Let's go to the final trailer. and
Yeah,
go-
let's watch
check it
that.
out.
Ele Ellin äikä kullan trumppu chaskimadan tolla kättis. Liftsi jo äiki kulla tämän faas.
Leo juokamaan mun sahtan taakka.
Puolet suu.
Basically,
That's it.
That's it?
Wow.
wonderful.
I
yoik
got
on the
drawn
background.
by this sceneries and
Yeah.
especially this light. Like in the end, it was
I want to
strong.
play it on a big screen with like
Right.
completely darkness on the other side. so-
Yeah. I mean, this could be my last question. Just a tiny question. The scenery is so pretty, beautiful. Is there any like specific regions that you guys were more like motivated, inspired by?
Because of the restrictions of game development, it had to be more of a Norwegian side.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
And
Because I
these-
saw some mountains
Yeah.
over there, here and there, right?
and that was the reason that we have to kind of narrow the areas where the
hill
player.
walls.
Yeah. So
Mm.
that's why it's more about the mountains and
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
gorges that there are. And yeah, but there are these specific images that we have, these reference pictures from my hiking trips, for example, that you can find in the game.
It's
around
gorgeous.
there,
The
so-
scenery is one of the top like things that I can catch from these trailers. They're
Yeah,
really
yeah.
pretty and
Absolutely.
awesome.
I miss the hiking in the wilderness. I really look forward to actually see maybe we can see your hiking pictures, like one of them maybe in our Discord server, and then the players can spot it in the game.
Yes, if I find it.
So if Marjaana finds the picture of the inspiration for the sceneries, please join the Discord to kind of try to figure out what is it from the game. And we're going to have a play together session on this week's Friday. So our production team students are playing it. Maybe me and Salif will be there to comment, and maybe we'll have time a little bit of look at the game before that. And
Right.
just enjoy the game. It's very fresh from the oven, and we appreciate that after all this kind of a deadline, kind of a final stretch, you were able to present or make a presentation for us and tell us about the game, that it's really just couple of days behind you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So Marjaana is
Yes.
also on our server, so if you have any specific questions, maybe we can at some point have answers from you
Yep.
in there.
We're talking about our Discord server,
Yes.
Games Now Discord server. We're also gonna play Skábma.
Yeah.
Later
on
in
Friday.
a few days.
Does this mean I have to start reading the channel?
We will ping you. So we will summon Marjaana to the channel if you have a specific question there.
Yeah, please do.
Nevertheless, thank you so much, Marjaana, for this opportunity for us to learn more about Sámi and Indigenous game development. And
And
we are
also-
looking forward to the cyberpunk version.
And
Yeah.
thank you inviting me here.
Yeah. And most of all, thank you very much, and also for your Sami community and you just bring this game together.
Mm.
Like put these things together in language, in the theme and aesthetics. It's very historical.
Yep.
Artifact, so to say, I would say.
Mm.
As a game researcher,
Congratulations.
congratulations, you did an
Yeah.
awesome stuff.
And for the
Thanks.
entire team.
Aw,
Mm.
You are.
Yay!
All right, we are going to continue this appraisal here together with Marjaana, and see you on Discord. So bye-bye.
Bye bye.